Chris.
I'm Adrian.
And I'm Jimmy.
Welcome to Worldview Finder, episode 59.
59.
Ayo.
We're almost to 100.
We're almost to 100. It's going to be great. 100th episode. Everybody's invited. Today, I'm telling you, it's a show to end all shows.
Wow.
Hopefully not.
This
Hopefully
is not our last episode.
All right. Is the world worth defending from aliens? No, we can talk about that. We're talking about a message in a bottle washed up on the shore, and it's from 1945.
It was a good year. That was the top song that year was This Land Is Your Land, This Land Is My Land.
Was it really?
Yeah.
You won't believe what that message in a bottle said.
It really won't.
All right. And then what happens when fake identities take on a life of their own?
It's a weird story.
It's a real weird story. I'm excited to talk about that.
Yeah, me too.
But first, how Hollywood tricked you into watching a Hallmark movie. Did you fall for it?
I did.
It's a Hallmark movie.
Yeah.
Adrian,
All right.
What are we talking about?
Well, you'll be surprised to know. Twisters.
The sequel to Twister.
They added an S.
Yeah.
The S stands for sequel.
Like that's like more fast, more furious.
Yeah, Twisters. Is
But was
a
the S a
Hallmark movie.
2? That's what I want to know.
No, and they should have done that. Okay,
Twister.
so it's a classic. It's a classic Hallmark movie.
Really?
Big city girl goes to Oklahoma to try to help stop twisters from happening, and her and the suits and the fancy high tech labeled trucks, polo wearing group of people are up against the ragtag hillbilly
Yes,
of course.
twister chasers.
I'm in for it.
And it's about her journey of falling in love with the Oklahoma boys.
So is there a scene
Actually.
where she goes back to the big city and is sitting there and then looks at a picture of him or something and she's real sad and I made the wrong decision.
And then she runs back and almost misses her flight.
No, it is the airport scene though.
Oh, see.
Like a classic
Okay.
Yes.
Hallmark airport scene.
Good.
The thing though is that they don't kiss. It's not even.
That's
it's
not
like
a Hallmark movie.
But it's so Hallmark.
Did she at least learn the true meaning of Christmas at the
She
end?
learned the true meaning of tornadoes.
Hey, see? That's good enough.
Twisters. So this sounds very similar to the plot of the first one because there's
Oh, it is. Yeah.
I never saw it.
That's why I love these remakes of movies because that was the Independence Day too.
Yeah.
It was same movie.
But, okay, so I would recommend it though because it's clean, it's fun, it's really fast paced. There's so many tornadoes that it's
Yeah, I saw the
ridiculous.
trailer.
Those Twisters.
Yeah, it looks crazy.
Well, they justify by saying that it's she goes there because it's a natural amount that's happening. So it's close to a disaster movie level, which makes it really fun and exciting. It's one of those it's like the first movie where the opening scene is just important people dying from a tornado.
Spoiler alert.
No, it's not,
The uncle dies?
if it's a Hallmark movie, the whole movie is already spoiled for you. That's
true.
the thing, is exactly what's going to happen the whole time.
Beat for beat.
And it does. But, I think that's why it's doing so well. Is it's just one of those movies that's pure fun, entertainment. You don't have to worry about all this other junk on the side. Anyway, let's get into Worldview, though.
But it's Carrie Ann Moss in the opening scene gets sucked up by a tornado.
Who's
You
that?
thought she was going to be in the whole movie.
Yeah.
That was Acolyte.
It's actually Glenn Powell. Glenn Powell dies first 10 minutes.
Hey, whoa!
Spoiler alert. Oh, my goodness.
I'm just
Adrian.
kidding. I'm just kidding. He's
Well, now we know she doesn't die.
Ah, great!
Glenn Powell's a man, but that's fine.
That too.
I was thinking Glenn Close.
If Glenn Close was in the movie, yes, she would have died in the first 10 minutes.
I don't know who these
You'll
people are.
die in the first wave.
So,
okay, what's the worldview of
Worldview.
Twisters?
All right, so you've got the suits versus the ragtag team.
Yeah.
And
Big business versus the little man.
exactly.
Yeah.
So the little man they predict the tornadoes, what town they're going to, and then they set up to help people. Whereas the big business, they swoop in afterward disguised as help, but really they are giving people their cards and buying up their land and redeveloping it later. So
big brain.
They
Big brain.
profit off of people's destruction.
I'm for it.
So we always say play out the worldview.
But do they build a Dollar General
On every corner?
Probably.
Okay.
They build
That's what they're doing right now.
new neighborhood developments and stuff. And so at first she's trying to kind of justify
luxury condos.
They've brought her, the big business has brought her in. So they're like, she's trying to justify it to this, like the tornado chaser hillbilly guys, because she doesn't really even know herself. But there is this like one scene where the worldview does get played out because a huge tornado's coming, and there's where they're like yelling back and forth, like, we've got to go help these people. And they're like, well, no, we've got to like go and get the data so we can report on this data or whatever.
Get that money.
And she's like, but let's help them first. And so it like gets louder and louder. And then he just finally goes, I don't care about the people.
Boom.
He cares about like the business and the data. And then that's the moment of like change. So the
was
world,
the final
so
straw.
it was like,
That guy,
okay,
you know
where's
that
your
guy's going to
heart?
die because that's part of those movies too. I'm not going to say if he does or not because I haven't seen it, but I'm guaranteed that guy dies. Okay, so keep going.
So I mean, that's all I'm
He
saying.
gets ripped in half by a tornado. It's all over the screen in 3D.
Is there a scene though where a guy ties a belt around his waist into a metal thing and then gets sucked up into the tornado and he watches it happen? He's inside it.
No, we're more high tech. It's not the 90s anymore.
Is this like Sharknado?
It is. Are
there any sharks in the NATOs?
The whole truck has a system where it drills into the ground and holds them in.
What?
So then you get to see the inside of the tornado.
Yes,
from
there's inside the tornado scene.
Yeah, from inside the car. It's amazing.
I want to watch this movie.
It's so fun. I'm telling you. You can actually rent it now and watch it from home.
I might have to do that.
So you can do it from home. But I would say at
Theater.
East, Show Plays East, everybody, PSA, it's in the Atmos where it's
good sound.
Yeah, really good sound, and the seats are the best in there. They're different from the rest of the
It rumbles
seats.
your soul.
Yeah, it's great. So I would say go do
Interesting.
that. Go see that.
Might have to do that.
Okay, so but the big business people, they think, hey, if I do this, this is actually benefiting people in the long run.
Yeah.
Like it may hurt people.
Yeah, that's how they justify it in their minds. Like that's how the team does. They're like, well, these people have just faced all this devastation. We'll buy their land so that they don't go bankrupt or whatever. Like we'll buy this land
We're
out
helping
from
them.
underneath them. Yeah, we're helping them.
Because they can't rebuild on the land because it's
Yeah.
going to cost them too much money.
They don't know that. Think about the luxury condos they could build on that
Yeah,
land.
but when it came down to it, the heart behind it was they didn't care about the people. They cared about making money.
I don't care about the people.
Yeah,
Do you care about people, Adrian?
you know I do.
So, do you recommend going and see this movie?
Oh,
So
yeah.
We don't always recommend stuff,
But I do. I
this is a
recommend it.
recommendation.
There are some people that die,
Jeez.
but that's about it in terms of
Glenn Lewis was her
Content.
name, I think.
Glenn Lewis,
Glenn
the
Lewis.
man. So
yes.
Okay, so a lot of times there's that old phrase, do the ends justify the means? And
Yep.
then I think, was it Zootopia? I did all the right things I did all the wrong things for all the right reasons.
Yeah.
I love that line because it's like we do things sometimes because we think, the outcome is going to be good. And so I cover these things up or I do these things that are wrong or I do these things that I fudge the truth a little bit. But in the end, I'm really helping people. I'm doing things. And that brings us to our next segment. What happens when fake identities take on a life of their own? So
This is a doozy, you guys.
this article popped up. It was from IGN and the Internet Gaming News. I don't know what it stands for, but IGN.com. It's actually it's a long read, but it's well worth it because so basically there was this lady, Susan Banks. Her Twitter handle or whatever it said.
X handle.
Said deaf, Muslim, queer, disabled gamer nerd, and she was a refugee, came to America, found a place to live, and then but because of her disabilities and stuff like that, it was hard for her to find a place or whatever. So she found this guy Cody Craven, who ended up helping her and then kind of introduced her to some of the gaming world and stuff like that. And so she became an advocate for getting things in video games that would help the deaf community and maybe some of the Muslim stuff. I don't know, disabled, help that community to get games that would actually help them. And actually made some really good strides there to help so people that were deaf, there would be subtitles and what's the descriptive audio, things like that to help people. And she would work with gaming companies and all this stuff to help them. But because she was deaf, they wouldn't do Zoom calls or anything like that because it would be it was hard for her to read lips or whatever over Zoom, so they would just communicate through email or direct messaging from her social media stuff and all that. So much so that she helped this gaming community that they made this award for her, the Susan Banks Advocacy Award, that like was going to help people and like so when gaming corporations did the right thing and like helped people that were disabled to find ways to actually game, they gave them this award, the Susan Banks Advocacy Award. But unfortunately, this was after she passed away, and so her friend Cody Craven would like in any articles that she wrote, like he would be part of that. And so any articles that she put out on this stuff or any communication, like he was always part of that communication. So, but so he, after she passed away, he just posted something like, "Hey, she died," and people were like really upset about it because she had helped a lot of people and stuff. And so, and then Cody Craven became friends with the other lady, Tubi Hamid, and kind of a similar situation. Like she was deaf, so there's a lot of people in the deaf community. So I'm not sure if Cody is deaf, but these people that he would befriend. She was one, and so like again would help with advocacy and stuff in video games. And then another lady, Deborah Vaughn.
So he was like he was part of this community of people who were advocates.
Yes, so
he's just created this kind of community.
So it's kind of a close knit community because there's not a whole lot of deaf gamers out there and all this stuff. And so I think Deborah Vaughn or maybe Tubi, like one of them, it was a video game where like I think it was Spider-Man 2 where there's like a deaf person, and she wrote this article about like I finally feel seen in video games, and so people reach out to her like in the gaming community, like and not just in the gaming community, but like developers,
the creators and developers of the game.
And we're working with these people to make these games more inclusive for people that have disabilities. And and so Deborah Vaughn, like I think it was her grandma, who was 92, had this like she wrote like I'm playing Breath of the Wild and like my mind is blown by this stuff, and would write these articles about it and all this stuff. So as somebody started digging into this a little bit more, they're like, I don't know if any of these people are real.
Punchline.
Yeah.
What?
And so Cody Craven.
Plot twist.
It is believed, allegedly, that he made up all these people. Susan Banks, not a real person. Deborah Vaughn, Tubi Hamid, Deborah's 92-year-old grandma. None of them are real. Because there's no record of Susan Banks coming over, like some of the diseases, like they said, like she went to the hospital and like for whatever she's being treated for.
No records of anything.
No records of any of that stuff, like her social media stuff. And so the writer of the article, like, is I think part of the deaf community, and so he's like, as a disabled gamer, like I've communicated with these people like a lot, and so the Cody Craven guy. I think it's a guy, Coty.
Yeah, it's a guy.
Yeah, so Cody, like, and I think he was married. He said he was married to Susan Banks. I think, are they in a relationship?
He was in a relationship with all of them, except for the grandmother.
Yeah, and so
at the same time.
No, but he said he had 3 separate relationships. Like one died, and then he found this other person, became a relationship. But one of the profile pictures, I think somebody discovered. Maybe that would have been the catalyst for it as well. But like one of the profile pictures was a stock image.
Oh yeah, a stock photo.
The old Google image search.
And so I think even like in 2019, the Susan Banks thing, like somebody like did some research.
This whole thing started in 2012, right? It was like the first time she appeared.
Yes, and then but I think somebody was like tracking her down or something. And like came to this conclusion like that she didn't exist, but then nothing was really done with it or said anything. And then and so, but they took her name off of the Advocacy Award. Now it's I think just the Advocacy Award. But then so over time, like somebody was like, something's not adding up here, because people would say these things like, oh, where can we send? Like, can we come to the funeral or anything like that? And like this Cody person was like, no, you can't do that. So,
all right, so let's get to like the worldview behind this. What is going on here?
Okay, so this is where like he did these things and actually helped a lot of people and helped the gaming community get to a place where it was not before.
Yeah. Like, did he monetize off of this?
So that's what, so I think some of the stuff, and I don't, if they paid her for articles or
there was a GoFundMe, right? For her something?
I think it was to start a deaf community. Like, he started these websites and things by, getting money from people and things like that. And so I think he benefited from this in some ways, and they got awards named after people and all this. So
I mean, he was playing a long game.
So it wasn't just like, okay, so he's okay, I'll try this with Susan Banks and like, oh, this got way out of control. She's got an award. This person's not real. And then he's like, okay.
If I did that, I'd be like, I'm good at this. I'm going to keep going.
Yeah. Well, I was like, okay, so he kills her off. And then it's like, okay, oh, what about her sister Tubi? Like, I don't know what, like, so was it like, okay, he's like, okay, well, now I can do this with a new person. And so, was it were people getting too close to finding out the truth? And so he
So he killed her off.
Yeah, and got a new person, and then she kind of faded out.
I can't wait for the movie on this.
It'll be like A Beautiful Mind, and you're like, what? She was dead the whole time.
Yeah.
But it was so I think the worldview is, and I don't know if his end goal was to like actually help people and help like games become more inclusive for people with disabilities.
But they did.
Yeah, and I mean it definitely helped people quite a bit. And so because people in that community were like, yeah, games are now more accessible and I can play games and enjoy games like I couldn't before. And so that's a good thing. But him lying and maybe profiting and just getting accolades and all this stuff and lying to people. And that's what the person that wrote the article was like, this community is going to have to heal from this because it's a close-knit community. And so when you do things like that, like it
tears down trust.
Yeah.
Big time.
And so, and because the guy writing the article was like, I would communicate. This is how I communicate with people a lot, like through email and stuff like that. And now you're going to be questioning, okay, is this person really real? And they don't want to do a FaceTime because they might be embarrassed because they can't hear or can't communicate well or whatever over those kind of things. And so it's like, I need proof of life or that kind of thing. So so it's like catfishing. You like that show? You like?
We watch Catfish, but it is interesting because some people kind of get started and they find out that they're good at it, but these fake catfish relationships sometimes will go on for 5+ years where you think you might talk on the phone with this person all the time and you're in this relationship for 5 years and then one of them contacts Catfish and they meet up and you're like, oh, you weren't the person that I thought you were. And we've been talking and in a relationship for the last 5 years.
Yeah. So that's got to be really mentally just mess with you.
So maybe this guy was just embarrassed that he didn't have a girlfriend, so he made up a girlfriend and then died and had to make up some more.
Yeah, but why? Like, even if you made up a girlfriend, like, why would you go to this lengths to?
Because other people had to believe that he had a girlfriend.
Yeah, I guess. But okay, but and we don't know.
Yeah.
But do you think his end goal was to actually help people, and he didn't think he could do it on his own?
That's probably part of it.
Yeah, I don't know. Did he? Well, that's the thing. We don't know his motivations, but it doesn't matter.
Okay, well, there is something going on in our world where if you have a lot of labels, that can get you further into things. And so deaf, Muslim, queer, disabled, gamer, nerd, those are a lot of buzzwords that can like get you.
But why not make those up about himself?
I don't know.
Maybe he didn't want those labels.
Great question. And I don't. Yeah, and maybe because they're female too, and that, I mean, in the gaming world, that's also a rare thing. And so, so like to find, not so much anymore, but it's still a little bit out there.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so I think, and again, we don't know what was in his head. I think he wanted to help people, but I think it sometimes got a little bit further. And then he realized like, oh, I can profit from this, and I can get some money and all that. But again, he was tagged in all this stuff. Like, he was part of those things.
Yeah, so he's getting recognition too.
And so he's the one that actually wrote the articles. He's the one that did the things to combine. So is it?
But so people, I think we do just struggle with this, like, ends justify the means, or the whole like, but this happened. But these good things happened because of it. Oh. So does that make it?
Sometimes you got to crack a couple eggs to make an omelet.
Okay.
Okay, because I'm dealing with some of this in the church world, because there's pastors that do wrong things, but they bring people along and people are getting saved, and there's like a lot of good things happening, and people are going out and like spreading the message of Jesus around the world. All this stuff is happening, but like you have these leaders, and this was the Mark Driscoll, like what was that?
Mars Hill, Rise and Fall of Mars Hill.
The Rise and Fall of Mars Hill podcast. It was like, because one of the worship leaders was like, my daughter got baptized. And I was like, I'm up leading worship, and she comes up to get baptized. And I set my guitar down and go baptize my daughter. He's like, but then the next day we're getting yelled at and all this stuff. I'm like, but my daughter got baptized. And so you have this person that's like leading you in a direction that isn't good, but you're like, but good things are happening. And so,
Right. Well, I think it ties into the playing the long game, rather than like we want things fast. And so sometimes when we take shortcuts like that, oh man, there's a really good quote that it's from Lord of the Rings. Pippin says it to Frodo. He says, sometimes shortcuts lead to like a longer path, or like shortcuts take us on a longer path. You should look it up. Google
Something along the lines of like sometimes the quickest way to get there is the long way.
It ends up being the long way. So it's like you may be quick to baptisms or quick to the gaming community or whatever, but then you're going to leave. So you're going to leave like trust and destruction in your way.
shortcuts make long delays.
There we go.
That's the one.
There it is.
Hey, at least you remembered where it was from.
Yeah, shortcuts make long delays.
Yeah, and so now, these corporations and stuff that were making strides in this are going to be very skeptical and like, I don't know.
Yeah, so now there's like a roadblock been placed, whereas maybe kind of like the tortoise and the hare, you know?
Now, is it wrong to make up fake people?
I think to this level, yeah, because
It's just a form of deception, which is lying, so yes.
yeah.
Lying is not always bad.
Okay, well,
Again, that's the ends justify the means.
It was in the Bible. Rahab. We talked about this before.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the ends justified the means. I lied, but then it helped the people out, so it was good.
Oh, man.
Oh, gosh.
She lived together. So, yeah, and so Cody's helping people. And so at the time of the writing, the author was like, hey, I contacted Cody and said, hey, this is going to come out. He's like, I have no further comments. And then like started deleting all his social stuff and all that stuff. And he'll come back as Susan B. Anthony. Yeah, so it's a fascinating read.
He's going to come back as Lee.
Lee.
The recipient.
Oh,
That's the next segment.
a message in a bottle.
The bottle.
So this is time for Florida Foibles. All right, so 1945.
That was a good year. Again, the song of the year was "This Land Is Your Land, This Land Is My Land."
This is your land. This land is my land.
We're getting copyrighted.
The New York Islands.
Yeah, you always say we get flagged. Here we go. This is why.
All right. So after the crazy hurricane, they have Hurricane Debbie. It's named after our mom.
Debbie. She born in 1945.
Nope.
No
50.
comment. Okay.
Jeez.
So
Don't say it, Adrian.
no, she wasn't.
She's 50.
Yeah. So typically, this lady and her daughter are going out for a walk. Typically, what is that? A scenic spot is littered with debris. She's walking along. She finds a bottle with a message in it.
That's a dream. I mean, dream scenario right there.
Yeah, a message in a bottle was washed up on the shore. And so it had a message handwritten under the letterhead, United States Navy, Amphibious Training Base, Little Creek, Virginia. The date on the letter, 3/4/1945.
Wow. Amazing.
So March 4th. So she said, surprisingly, there was no smell when she opened the cork.
Interesting observation. I'm surprised it didn't smell.
right away.
I'm surprised it didn't smell like alcohol.
It doesn't smell. So yeah, so there was some weird things in there, bullet casing, a little metal ball. But here's what the letter said. It began, Dear Lee. Received your letter yesterday. Was glad to hear from you. Wow, pop-ups on this. Okay. So you got a little lit up the other day. Well, that is an everyday thing around here. They have a bar and they have pretty good beer.
Naval base getting lit.
Even back in the 40s.
Yeah. Bud, the serviceman writes, Schlitz, perhaps, and Old Fiffle Pale Ale. Fiffle Pale Ale. You know, Pale Ale. I get happy every night I'm on the base.
Is he just saying, like, here's all the things I drink, I get happy?
Yeah.
Happy is getting drunk, right?
Give you a rundown of all the different drinks they have.
Drunk every night.
So the letter explains how he was in radio school. He asks, who's your dream girl now? And he says, well,
Susan B. Anthony. That was right around this time, right?
Woody Guthrie is writing songs out there. Okay, well, Lee, he continues, I have to fall out for school now, but we'll write again tomorrow and tell you how I made out in Norfolk tonight. So then he explains that he has a little redhead lady that he's looking after, and then he closes your pal, and it says the signature is difficult to discern. Jim, perhaps.
Oh.
So, okay.
Okay.
All right, so we've got a message in a bottle from 1945, and it's some random letter of guy like, we get drunk every night. I'm having fun.
So this sounds
Who's your dream girl?
This sounds exactly
I'll write
like
tomorrow.
back in elementary school when the school's like, hey, we're going to start having pen pals.
pen pals.
This is like the generic message hey,
Yeah.
my name's Jimmy. What's your
Like,
favorite color? What do you do for fun?
If he's writing tomorrow, is there another message in a bottle out
Yeah.
there?
So, and why?
That's how they were going back and forth.
So it's because he
Why?
says, I got your letter yesterday. It's like, okay, well then why'd you put it in a bottle and not mail it? So
How do you know
He was lit.
the other message wasn't in a bottle? That's how they did it back in the 40s. They didn't have the post office.
Just threw a bottle in the ocean. Hopefully it gets the next day. Yeah, the first letter. We're going to find that first letter.
Oh.
And it's going to be dated like 1900. It's like,
He got the letter yesterday.
I got your
Right.
letter yesterday.
I'm just disappointed Lee never got to read this very important information.
maybe
Yeah.
now he did. Maybe now he knows.
You think he's still alive?
He's like, Jim, he wrote back. I didn't talk to him for years because he never wrote back, and I wrote him about my dream girl.
Lee, if you're watching this right now, I just want to let you know that we found the bottle.
Yeah.
And this is, so you think Lee's watching?
You know he is. Lee,
Yeah.
you got a good friend in Jim.
Perhaps. Jim,
It's like,
perhaps.
and he lists all the beers that he drinks. Like,
He's a connoisseur.
What a disappointing experience to find a message in a bottle.
I know, because
And
you're
it's-
hoping it's like love lost or treasure map or something
Yeah.
like. And by the way, I hid the treasure under. You're like, yeah.
So, have you ever done anything like that, like written a message in a bottle or like buried something for somebody to find later?
My elementary school, we made like a little time capsule.
Yeah.
That's supposed to be opened in like 50 years.
What'd you put in it?
I don't recall. I don't know if I put anything in
It's
it.
been 50 years.
It's been 50, Lee. And I put this message in a bottle in a time capsule.
I think we did a time capsule thing. I think every third grade class does
That's
that.
probably
I
true.
don't know if I did. I don't ever remember doing one.
You were homeschooled.
No, I wasn't.
It's buried in the backyard.
In 50
I feel like I did do that.
I feel like I put a message on a balloon one time or something. I don't know.
Okay, so if you guys were doing it now and you wanted to send a message to the future, what would you put in a time capsule?
Say.
I drank Starbucks today.
I had a caramel frappe from McDonald's, and they also have a new apple pie, but it's limited time only.
No, that's the pumpkin pie with cream.
The pumpkin pie, it's a seasonal. The McRib is back.
Just say, make sure you continue to be very demure, and very mindful.
Yeah, people are like, what? So that's already
People
gone.
back then were dumb.
Just make a glossary of terms. Except people have the internet now, so
They won't have the internet in 50 years.
Don't
Yeah,
know.
it'll be back to the Stone Age.
That's true.
Yeah,
After
technology
true.
back then?
after the Fourth World War. We're
yeah.
going to have two between now and then.
Goodness. So, what would you put? But would you write just a normal letter to somebody and then stick it out there for like somebody to find? Because that kind of gives a more of a real snapshot of what people were thinking about and dealing with.
Yeah.
Than like,
Yeah.
hey, in the future, I hope you are doing well. Like it's
Right.
anything like that. It's just like, yeah.
I have seen Mr. Beast is actually kind of famous for doing this in a similar way. When he was a sophomore in high school, he made a series of YouTube videos called Hi Me in X Years. So it'd be Hi Me in 1 year, Hi Me in 5 years, Hi Me in 10 years. So he's basically kind of just explaining his life now and then what he's hoping to where his life he wants to be in 10 years. And I think in a year or two, it will be his 10-year one will come out. So I've seen people do that, either like write a message to themselves in the future or take a video.
Yeah, I've
And
done
it's cool
that.
to look back, 10 years ago and you're like, oh, that's how my life was. And it's a lot different than it is now.
It's different than it is now. So, yeah. So, message in a bottle. It was just the mundane things of life.
I can't search for videos on Apple Watch.
What?
Whoa.
My Siri's trying to
for
search for
videos.
videos.
So, mundane things of life, drinking beer, talking about the ladies. Adrian, is the world worth defending? Is that
Is the world
worth-
worth defending?
We don't have a lot of evidence after reading that message.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
like, people are still doing that stuff. So, yeah. So you came across a clip that was
Yeah.
interesting to you.
Yeah.
Boring to me and Jim.
I didn't watch the
You
clip.
guys are like, I don't get it.
I watched it. I didn't understand. I'm not smart enough.
Okay, well, let's see if our audience is smarter than Chris.
So do you want to set it up,
That
or
should
you
have
want
been
to
our
jump
hook.
into
Is our audience smarter than Chris? The answer is no.
Yeah, I'll set it up. Okay, so Nick Cave, if you haven't heard of him.
Is that Nick Cage's brother?
Have you heard of him, Chris?
I've heard the name.
You should, because you're wearing a shirt
What?
that has to do with
He
it.
invented Over the Garden Wall?
He sings the song.
He sings the song, Chris.
Oh, he's an artist? He's a singer?
Yes.
Wait,
Okay.
he sings the...
Yeah, Nick Cage.
he sings the Over the Garden Wall song.
What's his name?
Now this has become more interesting.
Yeah, now I've...
Now I would have watched the video.
Oh, so I didn't know he's an artist. I don't know. Yeah, I've heard the name, I think. But
Yeah.
okay.
He's on a couple of soundtracks of things that are pretty famous. But anyway, he's a singer, songwriter, has a big following, like old school guy. But
Yeah.
he's on the Stephen Colbert Show last week.
Wow.
And he had a fan write him a letter that basically said, "Have you given up on humanity? Like, should we, do you still root for us?" kind of thing.
Was
And
this letter written in 1945?
he found
washed
it,
up on the shore.
He found it in a bottle.
Oh, that was our segue. Speaking of letters written to people, I didn't know it was a
that's true.
fan letter. But yeah, so are fans still writing letters to people? And they're like, he's like, and that's a weird fan letter to
Yeah.
get. Like, hey, like your music. It's like, have you given up on humanity? Like, what is wrong with this
No,
person?
it was a longer letter, but this is just the clip that we're watching today.
Okay.
So the fan writes, "Have you given up?" And so he shares his answer. He writes the guy back, but Stephen Colbert wanted him to share his answer. So he does. And so we have a clip where he talks about that it took a devastation to find hope and cynicism. And there's
Wait, not to find cynicism, to overcome cynicism.
overcome cynicism. Sorry.
that
yes.
too.
So do I make the full screen?
Yeah, you can make it full screen.
Okay.
Get the full viewing experience.
We're not going to play the whole clip.
Just
but
30 seconds of it.
One of the worldviews that he says, unlike cynicism, hopefulness is hard earned, makes demands upon us, and can often feel like the most indefensible and lonely place on earth. But hopefulness is not a neutral position. It is the warrior emotion that can lay waste to cynicism.
Boom.
So,
Warrior
Put that on a
emotion.
t-shirt.
so yeah, hope is a warrior emotion. So, anyways, this is the final. We just wanted to play the final little clip of his answer.
Roll the clip, Stephen.
Each redemptive or loving act, as small as you like, such as reading to your little boy, or showing him a thing you love, or singing him a song, or putting on his shoes, keeps the devil down in the hole. It says the world and its inhabitants have value and are worth defending. It says the world is worth believing in. In time, we come to find that this is so. Love, Nick.
Look at that. The little things in life, like what you've been drinking at the bar and
Yeah.
those things.
But it's those things that you do with the ones you love. And so his devastation thing, you said, was his son passed away.
Yeah, his son died
And so,
tragically.
yeah. And so, so that makes it more poignant when he's like just tying his shoes and reading a book with
Yeah.
it's those.
Just each redemptive or loving act he's basically saying pushes the devil back. And so you have to love humanity, and that can be hard. But it is like he said, a warrior emotion, like it's a fighting emotion. And so it's actually easier to be cynical
Yeah.
than to be hopeful.
Well, especially when you're going through a really rough situation, or if there's a handful of things that come at you all at once, you're like, everything's terrible, the world is terrible, let's just give up.
Yeah.
And that's the easy way to do it. But
Yeah.
if you are searching for hope and trying to believe in humanity and believe in hope in the darkest times, then that would be really hard to do.
Yeah.
So he said, does it keeps the devil in his hole? Hull, like
No.
the hull of a ship?
Keeps the devil down in the hole,
He's got a British accent. It's hard to understand.
like underground.
Yeah, HOLE.
Right. But the hull of a ship is down under, I don't know. So
I think he's making a ship reference.
I thought he was.
It keeps the devil on the bow, in the stern.
There's a transcript of his.
Oh, okay,
and
so
it's-
it says a hole, HOLE.
Yeah.
Okay,
The
so
devil down in the hole.
Yeah.
That's a saying.
Is that a saying?
the one down to Georgia.
Like
Let us
keeping the
know in
devil at bay,
comments.
you know.
It came
that
out of
kind
his
of
hole. Yeah. So yeah, I like the read that part again about the
Cynicism.
the warrior emotion.
Yeah.
Because that.
Yeah, hopefulness is not a neutral position. It is the warrior emotion that can lay waste to cynicism.
Because I've never thought of cynicism being the opposite of hope. And so that's an interesting perspective, because to find hope in something is to look past the kind of the evilness of the situation or the frustration that you have with that thing, to say, because it is easy for me especially to slip into that cynicism. And like when I'm angry at something, I become very sarcastic and cynical about humanity or life or people or whatever. And so to find hope in the midst of that is a tough thing. And I think from this, though, he started going back to church. We don't know if he's a follower of Jesus or not.
He would say, I read an article, he was actually interviewed by a priest, and he said that he is a Christian and he tries to go to church when he can. He's a follower of Jesus, but he does not approve of organized religion.
Oh.
There you go.
He's cynical towards it. He needs some hope. No, but I think finding hope, because you say, is the world worth defending? And I think Jesus would answer that, yes, it's worth saving. And so, we're not to conform to the patterns of this world. And so that means like we have to be careful. And that's why we do this show, actually, why we do this podcast, because we live in the world, and the things that the world pushes at us, we have to look at it like, okay, does this line up with what Jesus says is good and pure and holy and all that stuff? And if not, what is this worldview pushing? And if it's pushing something different, then we have to wrestle with that and say, okay, but what does truth say? And then how does that line up with what I believe? And then do I need to make adjustments or things like that? And so for him to find hope in the midst of tragedy and actually bring him back into a relationship with Christ, a lot of times tragedy is what drives people away, because they're like, oh, how can God let these things happen to me and all this stuff? He's evil and he could have stopped it and all this stuff. But he's like, I need to find hope in the midst of this. And the way I do that is to not be cynical and not be upset by these things. And so that's a cool message. So so you can look up Nick Cave on Hope if you want to watch the full clip of it. But but that was that. So
not to be confused with Nicolas Cage.
Nick Cave, CAVE on Hope. All right. Well, hey, just end real quick. Is there anything you guys have been watching or listening to or reading that you not necessarily recommend, but just like, hey, I'm checking this thing out?
Super looking forward to the second season of Rings of Power. Comes out this week.
This week?
Yeah.
What? Oh man, I'm gonna have to get Amazon Prime
tomorrow. I think.
Is it one episode a week, or is it all at once?
2 this week, and then it's 1 at a time.
Oh, I'll have to get Amazon Prime when it's all out. Get that month free trial. I think I'm due for one again.
Nice.
It's been a year. Jimmy, you reading?
So I've been following a little bit all the Mr. Beast controversy, because there's been a lot of it recently. So we'll see how it all plays out. I thought it was going to affect like his viewership in terms of his videos, but he's still averaging over 100 million views per video. So looks like he's
let's talk about it next week.
So and I've been listening to a book, Faithfully Different, Regaining Biblical Clarity in a Secular Culture. It's all about biblical worldview. Natasha Crane, she's coming to Evansville in February to give a talk, and so I'm kind of listening to some of her stuff. But it's very interesting about how a lot of Christians don't have a biblical worldview. Boom. Okay. And so that's probably why we do this. So you can learn about the Bible and all that stuff. So, All right. I'm playing board games too, as always. It's great fun. All right. Hey, everybody, I'm Chris.
I'm Adrian.
And I'm Jimmy.
We'll see you next time. Thanks for watching and listening.